For GarageBand Weekly here on Studio Live. Today, I hope you're doing well. I'm just fixing up a few issues here with the Facebook because we're too late for the Facebook stream. Shall we get started with a little GarageBand Weekly, albeit a little bit late? I think we should. Let's do it, hey?
GarageBand Weekly, GarageBand Weekly, GarageBand Weekly.
Whoa! Yes. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome to GarageBand Weekly, and thank you for those who are here live, for hanging out, for waiting around, because, we are a little bit late starting here today because I set the time wrong. So my apologies, my sincere apologies for those that have been hanging out here in the chat waiting for me to start. We are finally actually underway, and we have a big one here, so we wanted to get started here as soon as possible. We're talking today about sharing and importing your projects into GarageBand. I'm going to do a little bit of a fun thing there. We're going to ask and answer the question, what the heck is the effect EQ in GarageBand? It took me a long time to figure it out. I've figured it out, and I'm going to share that with you here today. And we've got a whole bunch more news, notes, and rants to get started with here today. So thank you again for being here. Thank you for your patience. Let's crack into it with the news and notes of the week. So number one, we have a new version of iOS. Now, there's nothing exciting in this one in particular. It is 15.3.1. It's some bug fixes and updates, and we all know how exciting bug fixes and updates are, but it doesn't seem to be breaking anything at this stage. But if you've got your own feedback and you've got your own things that you found about it, then do throw those in the comments, because as you know, my advice with every update, as soon as that little update icon pops up there and it says, hey, it's time to update to the latest version, just stop and think for a minute. If you're in the middle of a major project, don't update unless it is an absolute 0-day security fix that you need to put in place. Yeah, don't update. Just wait, because you don't know. Sometimes you're just using one particular plugin will just completely go bananas because of the update. Finish your major project, and then you can recoup, and then you can update. So if you're between projects, then that's when I would choose to update. The other news that we have around here is that the new Macs, there's a leak that there's new Macs coming soon. The word on the street at the moment is on the 8th of March, we'll have an announcement, and there could be some brand new Macs announced then. I'm a little dubious because we had so much in 2021, so I don't think we're going to see a whole lot really soon, but that could be some M1 Pros for your Mac Minis. That could be some new MacBook Air with M2 chips even. Oh, the sky's the limit. Will we be underwhelmed? Probably. It's been the case for the last few. And the other news item I wanted to put out there is more of a correction or an apology. Last week we had the wonderful Patrick from GarageBand Guide on the show, and we were talking about Macs. We were talking about older Macs, and I think I watched it back afterwards to do the timestamping, and I think I came across a little too harsh with older Macs. I've been, I think I've definitely drunk the Kool-Aid of the M1 Macs, and I was sort of saying, oh, if you've got a 2017, 2018, 2019 Mac, they're bad and you shouldn't. No, not at all. And I think hopefully it came across that use what you've got to get the job done. You don't need the latest and greatest. Use what you actually have right now. And there's still a lot of value in a computer that's 4 or 5 years old. One thing that Apple do pretty well is give you residual value. And the fact that I've still got an iPhone 6S that I use regularly and it still works great, and even my iPad Air 2, yeah, you've got some long life with things. So for anyone that watched last week and said, gee, Pete's being a bit of a D word about these older Macs, he thinks that everyone should just buy an M1. My point there was, I think that the M1 is such good value that if you're buying a Mac right now, you probably shouldn't go back and buy a 2015 or a 2016 Mac. You should probably spend that little bit extra and get yourself an entry-level M1 Mac Mini or MacBook Air. I just think it'll be better bang for your buck and better value. So that is what I wanted to get off my chest here today. Shall we say hello to the fine folks that are here live? Having crackles in the sound. Are we having sound issues? That'd be about right. Let me know if we're still having problems with sound here, and I'll endeavour to correct things, because we are. I'll just turn that one a little bit there. I'm doing some more experimentation here with my streaming setup, which means that, some things are working and some things not so much. I'll turn down the iPad sound because that was coming through at the same time. So if we can get, hi, crackles, yes. If we can get let me know if there's any other issues that are happening here. Watching Pete in CarPlay must be a painful experience. Barry Glenn says it's okay. So yeah, if we can just can I get a thumbs up or a thumbs down? Thumbs up if you're hearing clear audio coming through now, and can I get a thumbs down in the chat if the audio is no good? And if you're watching on the replay, thanks for bearing with me. I appreciate you. I'm going through OBS here today, which is cool because it means I can do things like this. I can swap in and show you my Logic Pro screen, and I can do things like this and bring up my iPad screen. So I think having all of those different audio sources going in there and being on at the start when I was testing is probably what gave you some crackles. So there you go. I hope it's good. So we've got Phil saying good, Gregory saying good, Thomas saying good. Alex is still hearing some badness coming through there. So we'll persevere and persist. Pete in his DistroKid t-shirt should talk about Linux. Linux is a great platform that I have no idea how to use. I've tried it like a couple of times and I've got no idea with it. So let's jump into our feature topic, shall we? Here, better now, says Alex. Cool. All right. Well, we're on our way. There's a few clicks, but not a big deal. I think you might be clipping. Oh, okay. So let's just check all of my settings here. Nothing like an audio show. You know what? I've got one setting in here that I didn't have on here, which is automatically adjust mic volume. So that might be the culprit coming in there. We're definitely coming through the mixer there. So we'll go with it for now. Hey, we'll turn that one on and we'll go with it. I've got a question here. GarageBand for iOS, the gain controller is grayed out, and I try to import YouTube instrumental beat into I think we answered this last week, yeah? I think we talked about that exact question last week when it's grayed out. The gain controller is grayed out. I'm not sure what that means there. But yeah, go check out the videos that I have. I've got a couple of them. I've got one about volume hacks. So search Pete Johns volume hacks and then search Pete Johns import audio or import video, and you're going to get some results there that will tell you what you can do. All right, let's, if you do have any questions, you can go ahead and ask them right here in the chat. Just put the word question in front of your question and we'll be happy to answer your question. So we'll go with that. Let's jump into our feature topic here. And that is, if you've been watching along with my series, you'll know that I've been working on a song here in Logic Pro. This is a song it was called Hey Girl, then it was called Hey World, and now it's just called Hey. But I've been finally trying to learn Logic Pro. Look at that slickness that I'm putting my mixer away there with just the touch of a button. And let's see if I can remember my zoomings. Yeah, I can remember my zoom in and out functions with my scroll wheel here. So I'm slowly learning Logic, and I thought the reason that I'm doing this is that I know this show is GarageBand Weekly, and we talk a lot about GarageBand. There's a lot of folks that use GarageBand on their iPad and their iPhone, but there's also a lot of GarageBand Mac users, and I wanted to throw it out there to ask a question to you, but also to myself. Who is Logic Pro for, and should you consider it? Is it really worth it? And I did see in the frantic times when Tom notified me that I'd set this show to go an hour early, instead of 9:30 my time, I set it to 8:30. I was reading the chat and folks were already talking about this topic. So it's interesting and I want to get your thoughts. So if you're here live and you've got your own thoughts on this, please throw them in the chat. If you're watching on the replay, I'd love to hear your comments about your journey, because everyone that I'm talking to about this so far has their own story. Most people that have gone to Logic have not regretted it. They've said, yep, it was a good move. But talking to a few folks like John, one of our viewers here, who's been emailing some great information recently, has also been providing information about the fact that there's a lot of things that he loves and there's a lot that he doesn't actually use in there. So the first thing I'll say, thing number one is there is a lot of stuff in here. If you come over here into Logic, you can really overwhelm yourself with all of the different things that you can do. So if you've got obviously a mixer, you've got buses, you've got automation of everything, you've got a whole bunch more effects and a whole bunch more things that you can actually include in here than you do in GarageBand. So there's a lot going on here. Now, there is a mode in here. I forget where it goes in here. You can basically go in here and set it to be more like GarageBand. So you can hide all of those different controls if you're getting overwhelmed like I do. Here's the thing, though. You don't have to use them. So they're there when you want them and they're not when they don't. So the cool thing about all of this is, and some of the things that I've found, is that this mixer, having a really nice mixer here that I've got full view of there, is when I'm playing my song and we're listening in, it just gives a really good representation of what's going on. And I haven't even started using things like color coding and other things that I should be using to get things happening. You've got a lot of options in terms of, your arrangement here. You can use markers and you can have multiple time signatures, multiple tempos, multiple lots of things. So I think in essence, it all comes down to what you need. And I'm actually, the one thing that Patrick said last week on the show, and that a lot of people I've spoken to have said the same thing, is GarageBand is a great learning tool to move into Logic. So if you're a GarageBand iOS user and you get yourself a Mac, I would definitely spend yourself a significant amount of time with GarageBand Mac. I didn't spend enough. I think I should have spent probably another month or 2 months or 3 months with GarageBand Mac. Now, the reason I jumped into Logic is it was more of a guinea pig thing. I wanted to jump in and say, okay, what is this going to do for me for my music production? In terms of what it has actually done, it does seem like the quality does seem to be pretty darn good. It's very easy to get good quality sound. Just the built-in guitar amp sims sound great. The fact that as soon as you throw a vocal preset on there, it sets up buses with delays and reverbs, and you can really hear the quality of that coming through. Now, can you do something similar in other platforms? Yeah, but you do have that trade-off. The negative, or I guess the challenge that I've had moving into Logic, is just simply the complexity of getting stuff done. So you would have seen me like trying to move around these screens and navigate and work out, hey, how do I get rid of this mixer window? Like now I'm kind of getting the hang of the keyboard shortcuts and moving around, but it's taken a little while to actually get there, and just the overwhelming abundance of different things to do. So just to add a new track here, it's not actually that hard. New audio track, there you go. But then remembering, okay, how do I get up the thing where I select the thing? Oh, it's the inspector. Okay, I'll go to the eye, and then going, okay, so what do I actually press here to do things? Like there's so many things, there's so many options that we have in Logic that it can be overwhelming. So if, like me, you are easily overwhelmed, then that is something to keep in mind. The greatest thing that I found is, just like the GarageBand community, the Logic community has a lot of information. So there is Why Logic Pro Rules, there's a Music Tech Help Guy, there is a bunch of really good Logic channels and Logic resources that have actually really been able to help me. Even John suggested to me Dean Davis, like a lot of the GarageBand stuff. Here's the cool thing. A lot of the GarageBand stuff is actually completely transferable as well. So not only do you have all the Logic creators, you've also got all the GarageBand Mac creators like Patrick and Dean Davis and these guys. So all of that information is out there and ready for you to use. So who is Logic Pro for? Is it worth it? Because let's keep in mind that this is a $200 piece of software. It's $319 Australian that it cost me, and I did actually buy it outright because the reason I did that, look, as you probably know, Apple have loaned me a MacBook Pro at the moment. So if I reached out and said, hey, can I have a copy of Logic Pro? Chances are they might have said yes. But I wanted to buy it because I don't think you get the same realization and same value comparison unless you're actually paying the dollars. So that's why I wanted to buy it, and that's why I started using it. So who is it for? Well, it's for people that have hit that wall with GarageBand, and that's the key point that I wanted to make here. That's what I wanted to round back around to before I jump in and show the comments here from the community, is that it's when you hit that wall with GarageBand. I don't think it's for everyone. I honestly think that if you are recording bands and you've literally got, you're plugging in a bass and a guitar, you're micing up some drums, or even using virtual drums and some vocals, and you're recording, you probably don't need Logic Pro. You can probably use GarageBand quite well. Folks like Glenn Clark use GarageBand, Josh Gates uses GarageBand. There is so much power and functionality in GarageBand, you may not need to go up to that level. It is when you start going, hey, it would be really great if I could create one reverb sound and then bus all of these tracks into that one sound. You start hitting that. You start saying, hey, I want to use all of these complicated space designers and effects and things, and GarageBand's just not cutting it. Or I want to do something else that's within Logic, using the mixer, having different options like that. There's a lot of things that you can get to, but I would honestly recommend starting in the GarageBand path because it's like training wheels. It's training wheels for your it's like now Mac OS. iOS is now training wheels for Mac OS, which is great because old Mac OS was not as much like iOS, but now there's a lot of similarities between the two. Which I think is pretty cool. Let's see what folks have had to say themselves. DJ Normal Norman says, I've been making tunes on the iPad and GarageBand and finish them on Logic. And that's the other cool thing. being able to actually take your GarageBand iOS Pro, and this is something I'm looking forward to doing in the future, is doing a hybrid approach where I start my ideas in GarageBand iOS and then we shimmy them over to Logic and use them over there. Tricoder transmissions. I just upgraded to Logic about 2 weeks ago and it was definitely worth it. There is a lot of stuff to learn, but coming into it from GB was an easier transition. Excellent point, and I think this is the point that I'll make, is transitioning from GarageBand, because unless you use GarageBand Mac first, you don't know what you're missing out on. You don't know what you don't know. Thomas says, if your music production is production heavy, it would be extremely helpful. Yeah, and that's the thing I'm starting to see as well. When I'm looking around, if you see folks that are using like 100 or 200 tracks and they're trying to sum them up, things like the track stacking and the busing and a lot of the cool stuff that I still haven't even worked out how to use yet, that's going to be super valuable if you do that. So if you're someone that's producing vocals and you've got like 12 backing vocals and you want to sum them all up into one track stack and then you want to bust them all into the same vocal reverb or vocal delay, that's going to be a lot easier to do in Logic Pro. If you're using a whole bunch of different effects and synth sounds and you're collaborating with other people, yeah, it's going to be a lot easier to do that. So I agree with that. If you want a whole lot of production, then you can do that. That's solid advice, getting some quality time in GB. Yeah, I think so. It's definitely what I want to do. It is called Advanced Tools. Yeah, so the option, I can't remember where it is, but the Advanced Tools you can turn off and turn on. And if you turn it off, it basically turns Logic into GarageBand. And look, I dabbled with that when I first got it, and then I realized that, hey, if I'm going to use Logic without the advanced tools, I might as well. And I was actually watching Music Tech Help Guy, and he said, look, just turn them on. You don't have to use them. Like, just ignore them when they're there, but you'll eventually go, hey, what does this button do? And you'll try it out and see how you go. Lily Pillies, I only use GarageBand Mac and Logic Mac, but GB is a bit easier. I've only used GarageBand Mac and Logic Mac. Yeah, so if you've only used the Mac, yeah, GarageBand is definitely easier to just get yourself up and running, for sure. And the community between GB and Logic makes transitioning much easier. Yeah, totally. And talking to Patrick about that over at the GarageBand Guide, he said exactly the same thing. If I hadn't been using GB, iOS, and Mac for about 5 to 6 months, it would have been harder to transition. Yeah, 100%. Yeah. How do we avoid the crashes? Well, and that's a good question. I would like to throw that out to the audience here too, because I must admit, I have not had a single... Okay, I'm going to touch all the wood on my desk here now. I've not had a single crash in the time I've been using Logic. Now, bear in mind, I haven't been using Logic heavily, and I've got an M1 Max MacBook Pro. So it's unlikely that I'm going to have any system-related crashes, but as far as the software goes, and I'm running Logic 10.7, as far as the software goes, it is solid. Like, I've had no spinning balls, I've had no like freezes, I've had none of the plugins or anything. And look, again, I've used a very limited set of plugins so far, but everything has worked really well. So, yeah, I don't know if others, your mileage may vary, and let me know, because I need we want to share the information with the community out there. Yes, Dean Davis is a very cool dude. And thank you, Bubba, for helping BBS out with the link to the video they were asking about before. I've had Logic crash when I was using Ozone and Nutrition on plugins. Yeah, and that's the sort of things that I haven't been actually trying and playing around with yet, is sort of more of those more advanced plugins, and that's probably something I need to do. Yeah, crash both plugins and Logic in general. Yeah, okay. Well, yeah, let us know. Tricorder says, one thing I've found very useful in Logic is all the tools for transforming MIDI. And this is something that I've barely scratched the surface on, but I played around with MIDI in the last episode, and yeah, like, I came over here and I'm looking at all of these functions, all the in-depth transposition. You know, you've got things like your transposition, you've got your quantization, and just this alone, the fact that you can use a strength for quantization means that you can actually get your things on the grid, but still keep them a bit humanized. And that's something that I missed from Reaper and using GarageBand iOS for a long time. You didn't have a lot of the MIDI tools to be able to do things. And things like easily being able to visualize, like just this color coding. And look, I believe this is in GarageBand Mac too, but just the color coding for velocity just gives you a bit of a heat map of what's going on there. If you compare that to a GarageBand track, like let's just come over here to GarageBand iOS. If you compare that to GarageBand iOS, you can look at a track here, and there's no way to tell the velocity unless you actually go in and tap and then go velocity. So just a simple thing like having that color coding option there in Logic really does make a big difference. And yeah, I'm enjoying it, and I'm going to get used to it, I'm sure. Tom says, also Logic Pro is good for people who have used other DAWs with more sophisticated options but want the plethora of virtual instruments that come with GarageBand or Logic. Yeah, exactly. You know what it is? I'm getting the same frustrations I had when I used to use Reaper and Cakewalk, but I've still got the familiarity of Virtual Drummer. I've still got the familiarity of the grand piano keyboards and the Apple loops and the beat sequencer. So it's like it's still unfamiliar. I'm still in unfamiliar territory, but it's giving me some of those features that I actually missed from GarageBand iOS that I wouldn't want to go back onto to other things. Freeze tracks, bounce to MIDI file. There are other options that you have there. Derek Smith said, I've never had crashes regardless of the plugin, OS, RAM, etc. There you go. So it's all good. Yeah, that's the part that tempts me. Yeah, there's a lot to tempt. Sorry, there's a lot of things that are very tempting about it. But again, here's the good news is this: GarageBand iOS is excellent. It does the job. It'll help you produce great music, as you're going to hear later in the show. I've got a special surprise for you coming up in just a bit. So it can help you produce great music. GarageBand Mac takes it to the next level, and it's all free. Now, every time I say free, every time I talk GarageBand and I say free, I get some comments, and the comments are usually like, yeah, free as long as you buy a $1,000 phone or a $1,500 iPad or a $2,000 Mac. And yeah, okay. So bundled. Let's go with bundled or included. Maybe they're not free, but they're definitely bundled and included with the hardware. And again, there's just nothing else that compares out there. There's nothing that's free, that's easy to use and easy to get started with, but also has that powerful sort of growth opportunity. It's not like you hit a wall and you can't go anywhere else. It definitely has the ability for growth there. Lula's starting a Logic piggy bank. Yeah, start a GoFundMe. Let's get Lila Logic, right? All right. If you're watching on the replay and you do have comments about this, if you're a Logic user or if you're thinking about using Logic or you've just transitioned to Logic, do let me know. And I do realize this is a GarageBand show, so I promise it won't become Logic Weekly. Main reason being that I don't know enough about Logic to sell that, to float that boat, and probably never will. All right, let's jump in. Now, instead of a rant of the week, I'm actually going to do something that I've had questions asked about quite a lot in the last week, and that is, what can I get that's good value that I can plug a bunch of stuff into? I know that's a bit of a vague thing, but we're going to be talking about multi-channel interfaces. So this is interfaces that are more than two channel. So let's break it down. Let's take a step back here. Here's my gear guide, by the way, studiolivetoday.com/gear. You can jump over there. What most people are looking for when they get started is an audio interface that they can record a guitar, a microphone, or maybe both at the same time. That's kind of standard. So what I recommend for that, there's a couple of options here, but my absolute go-to is the one that I'm using that's plugged into my iPad Pro right now down there, and it is the Steinberg UR22C. Why do I like this? Well, yes, it's got a slightly higher price tag than some at nearly $200, but you got two Yamaha D preamps in the front there, so you can plug in two mics. You can plug in two line inputs, two guitars, or you can plug in a stereo line in input. Round the back here, you've got MIDI in and out. You've got a balanced output for your monitor speakers. You've got two ways of powering it, either direct via USB-C, or you can plug in a 5-volt DC power, which means you can use this on the go. Yeah, you can plug it in and power it up via a portable battery. So it ticks all the boxes. If you are recording one or two microphones, or you're recording a guitar or a stereo keyboard or two guitars or a mic and a guitar, you're covered. The question I get, though, is people are saying to me, Pete, I want to record my acoustic, and I want to record a direct line signal of my acoustic. I want to mic it up with stereo mics, and I want to record my vocals. You know, you're always wanting more, people. So what do I do with that? What's a good quality interface? Still going to work with all my gear, but it's not going to break the bank, and it's going to let me plug in multiple devices. Well, in my experience, there's a few options that you have here. The option that I go for, and please tell me in the chat if you have different options. The Steinberg UR44C is the big brother or big sister or big cousin of the previous interface. And yes, you're going to be paying a little bit more for it. But look at this. You got the same functionality there, but you've got 4 of them. Yes, count them, 4. So you can do 4 microphones, 4 direct signals. You can do 2 stereo signals in there. And guess what? You've even got 2 inputs on the back here. So you could actually got 6 channels, up to 6 separate channels to record in here. You've still got your MIDI. This time you've got either USB 3 power or you can plug it directly into mains power. So you've still got 2 ways of powering it, but because it used a bit more juice, you need some mains power there. You've got 2 separate line outputs, so you can send it out to 2 different sets of speakers or a set of speakers and a mixer or whatever you want there. It is a great unit. Now, I own the UR44, the older variant of this. This one just adds a few additional features and is updated to USB-C as opposed to USB 2 that the old one was running on. So that's my recommendation. Look, that's pretty pricey at $359. There are other options there. The other one that a lot of folks go for is the Focusrite Scarlett series. Now, if you go all the way up to the 18i8, which is kind of the flagship, you're going to pay a bit more. You're going to pay 420 clams for that one. Has very similar feature set and is quite similar to the Steinberg option, just a little bit more expensive. But as you can see there, it's almost exactly the same layout there, like almost exactly. Like they're very, very similar bits of kit. The other options that you have is to go the Behringer route. And I know people have different views about Behringer. Let's just find it. It's the 44. Or we're going to have to put this in. I've forgotten the name of the actual. Someone will be able to tell me. It is the 4. Is it the 404? No. We'll just do Behringer 4 and we'll see if we can find it. And I know a lot of people use Behringer audio interfaces and have good success with them. I'm going to have to put audio interface in there, aren't I? Audio interface, and they make, is it the you want to use the HD series when it comes to Behringer. So there's the 204 HD. It's this one. So again, at this price point, you're getting basically the same features. Now, I don't love how busy this front is, but it's actually got a lot of good information there. You've got line, or you've got main outs there. Look, you've even got XLR outs on this one. So I know a lot of people that use this Behringer and swear by it and say it's good. The thing with the Behringer though, make sure you're getting one that has HD at the end of it, because if you get something that doesn't, you're getting yourself a 16-bit interface. So again, if you don't mind the whole Behringer thing, look, this is actually really cheap at the moment. I'm tempted to pick one of these up just to test it out because normally they're about $250. So $169 is actually a really good price for that. And you can see they get pretty darn good reviews as well. So if you're looking on the budget and you still want to get all the features, then you can go the Behringer route as well. So that's kind of my breakdown of your options that you have for a multi-channel interface. There's a bunch of different things that you can choose. Is just a matter of what level of quality you want, what your budget is, and keep in mind the ones I've showed you there are all class compliant. Now I'm mentioning that because if you're using iOS, if you're using your iPhone upside down or your iPad, you do need an interface that's going to be class compliant, because that means that it can run without drivers. If you use some of the more high-end interfaces, so you might be thinking, why don't I use one of those 16-channel interfaces? A lot of those need drivers to run at all, which means you can use them with your Mac, you can use them with your PC, but if you want to use them with iOS, you need a class compliant. So look for the Steinberg UR series, the Focusrite Scarlett series, or the Behringer HD series, and you'll get yourself some pretty good stuff there. Afraid people will think Leela and Logic are mutually exclusive. No, they're different. Let's see. UR44C, Gregory O'Sullivan says. Yep, I use the Yamaha AG06. Yeah. And look, Yamaha also make some... The other thing, I've talked about this before, you can choose to use a mixer as well, if you want to, as opposed to an audio interface, and that can work well. Keep in mind that the difference between a mixer and an audio interface. So if we show this one here, this is what Leela's talking about. This is a mixer. So even though you can see there that, I could plug in, look, I got 6 channels. I can plug in 2 mics, and I can plug in a stereo keyboard. I can plug in a stereo RCA source, and I can record them all. You can, but the key is you can record them all as one stereo output. You can't actually record each of these individually. So this is great for live. I use a mixer right here, right now for doing stuff like this. Really good for live, but not so good if you want to record and then go back and edit each individual track. You can only edit the whole kit and caboodle. And yes, it does. It supports 32-bit. So keep that in mind. You want an audio interface that's going to support 24-bit or 32-bit. The reason I said stay away from the Behringer, the UM series, is that they're only 16-bit. Now, if you're starting out, look, if you've got nothing and you want to, and you got $45 that's all you've got to buy an audio interface, and you buy this thing, you're going to get slightly better quality than just using the built-in microphone on your phone or something like that. But only just. And, I don't say that lightly because this thing works, but it's not like I would say save up the extra $50 and get yourself the HD series. Because, again, for the 202 HD, which is basically this but with 24-bit sound, you're paying $89. So 45 versus 89, the difference is staggering in terms of the build quality, in terms of the sound quality. You will be a lot happier with yourself if you do that. And yeah, the Behringer 404 is indeed great value. I know many folks who use it, enjoy it, and find it really cool. Yeah, the UR44C is, again, just that Steinberg quality is pretty cool. I was going to get the Scarlett Pro. Is it any good? Yeah, it is any good. And I just beat you to it there. UMC 404 is what Phil uses. Very cool. The Arturia Audio Box series. Yep, there's some good stuff made by Arturia. Also good stuff by Presonus. 100%. Presonus make good stuff. There are so many things that are good. The key there is just to don't go with the absolute cheapest. I mean, as DJ Normal, I've got a cheap Behringer interface. It's okay. Need an upgrade. Yeah, it's better than nothing. If it's what you've got and it's what you're using, go back to what I always say, which is create with what you have right now. It's better to create now with what you have than to just covet the best thing. Or the worst thing is to think that you're just going to go out there and spend $350 on a really nice shiny interface, and then it's going to completely fix everything about your mix and about your recordings and about your... No, it's not going to do that. It's going to be a process of growing and evolving. Also check out Julian Krauss' review on the UMC 404 and you'll be sold on it. Very cool. Very cool. M-Track Duo as well. Yeah, absolutely. M-Track Duo is very, very good for around $60. Yeah, exactly. If you're going to spend that, get the, it's the M-Track Duo. If you're going to spend that sort of price, yeah, use this. Go with this one instead because it's $69. So it's that in between, but you're actually getting 24-bit audio and you're getting decent quality sounds and good preamps on that one. And it looks cool too. It looks like all chunky and boxy. I love the old school look of a lot of these things. So yeah, the M-Track Duo and even the M-Track Solo. I think that's even cheaper. Well, it should be. Imagine if the Solo is like more expensive. That would be weird. M-Track Solo, I think, is only $59, I reckon. 49. Oh, come on. That's a buy. That's a bargain. Don't get the UM2 from Behringer. Get the M Audio Solo if you're going with that. And by the way, when they say solo, it doesn't necessarily mean it's only got one input. It's usually got two. It just means that it's got one input there for only one preamp and then one line input. And it's pretty cool. Look, you can use line or microphone there, and you can do line there. So you can actually record stereo line in. That's actually unheard of at that price point, because the difference between that and something like the Steinberg UR12, which is what I used to use and recommend, the problem with this one is that it doesn't have that combo jack, so you can only use that one as a microphone input, and you can only use that one as an instrument. You can't actually use, say you've got a stereo keyboard or a synth, you can't actually use it with that. So good recommendations all around here. There you go. You are absolutely lousy with choices now of what you can go ahead and use. Yeah, I got two keyboards and they're both Yamaha, very cool, and using Ableton 12 audio tool and BandLab, very cool stuff. Alrighty, and yes, if you're doing live streaming, a mixer and the Yamaha MG series is a great mixer for that. All right, let's move on. Don't forget, if you do have questions, we are interactive here and you can ask your questions. Just put the word question in front of your comment, and we will certainly endeavour to answer any of those questions that you have. And if you want to check out any of the gear that we talked about here that I recommend, it's all over on my gear guide right there at studiolivetoday.com/gear. I've recently updated it there so you can see I've got my mobile setup. So every piece of kit that I use in my mobile setup, and I've got my desktop setup there as well. So if you just want to go, I just want what he's using, then all you need to do is go over there and you'll find all the gear links to it at Amazon in various different countries, as well as Sweetwater if you're lucky enough to be in the US and can buy stuff from Sweetwater. Hello, Tipic 809. Hope you're doing well. All right, let's get into some GarageBandery, shall we? Because I'm going to bring up a project here. Now, I'm going to close this project. This is a mystery project I'm going to be talking about in a moment. But let's just jump back into to my last project that I'm working on here. In fact, we're going to use this this version 15 because this is the version that we played with last time that we kind of went in and broke some things with. By the way, if you're using this mouse that I'm using here, the Bluetooth mouse from Logitech, this is the Logitech Quiet mouse, the M590. It's a bloody good mouse. Like, it's got the little really quiet clicks there. If you're like me and you want to get some editing done and you're around people that you need to be quiet around, like family members, then yeah, the Logitech M590 is USB and Bluetooth, so you can actually connect it up to two different devices and use it across both. So if you're wondering what I'm using and how I've got my pointer here, I'm using my Logitech mouse there. So one question I get asked an awful lot is, what the heck is the effect EQ and can I remove it because it seems to be there on every vocal preset? Well, here's the answer. The effect EQ is exactly what it sounds like. It's an EQ that is on that particular effect. So I'll show you what I mean. Let's add a new vocal track. Let's pretend we're adding a new vocal track. We come in here, we tap on audio recorder, and there you go. It drops us in here. It drops us into Punchy Presence. That's the one that we're using here. Now, if we go out and we tap on our options here, and we go to plugins and EQ, you can see here that it's automatically set us up a compressor. It's set up an effect EQ, a tape delay, a stereo delay. And everyone keeps asking me, what is the effect EQ? It doesn't actually seem to do anything. Well, here's what it is. It's a simplified version of the visual EQ. So if we click or tap on this blue button, look what happens over here. The low and the high go away. If we turn it back on, they come back. So this can actually set our bass. So this is turning the bass down, turning the bass up. Or we can turn the treble up or the treble down. Now, it doesn't do anything to the visual EQ. It's a separate effect EQ that sits here. It's kind of a throwback from the smart controls that you get in GarageBand Mac and Logic. So it's kind of handy if you just want a quick way to add a little bit of bass or treble there. But if you turn it off, it doesn't really matter. And the other thing here, the same thing is with your compressor. So what a lot of folks don't realize when they start with GarageBand is that these are linked to these. So before we had this, all we had was this. So this is kind of like the simple controls. You select your thing here, you come in, let's just change it to lead vocals, and you've just got a basic tone control. This time we've got a one dial control. More bass, more treble. And we've got pitch control, compressor, drive, and vocal hall. If we come back out here, we click on this, we go to plugins and EQ, this is like the next level of that. So again, we turn on the effect EQ there, and this is this tone knob here. If we want it to go off again, we tap there, guess what? It grays out. It's not there. If we don't want it at all, we can safely remove it. So all you need to do is tap the edit button there and get rid of it. Boom, delete, and it's gone. Now, because these are special plugins that are only attached to these particular vocal presets, you can't bring them back. So the one that you want to be really careful of is, say you want some pitch control, because hey, who's not a bit pitchy every now and then, and you've added enhanced tuning through lead vocals or one of the others, and you remove it like this, because you're like, nah, I can handle it, I don't need it. You can't actually bring that back now, because if you hit the plus button here, you'll notice that that's not one of your 10 standard effects, and it's not any of your Apple audio unit effects. They're not actually in there at all. So what you would then have to do is go back and reselect that, and there you can see it brings back in that enhanced tuning. You can turn it on. And again, if you turn all these off, you'll see it grays out all of that business, and it's gone. So my advice with this, with the effect EQ, it's not really needed. It's just kind of there to give you a bit of a quick option for your EQ. But guess what? You've already got one that's built in that you can't remove. So why not remove your effect EQ, and then you can use your visual EQ to give you that treble boost you need, or to give you that bass cut that you need, and then you've freed up another slot, because now we can actually add in a cool flanger in here, or we can add in any of the other effects that we want to add in. Anything from our downloaded effects we can add into here, and we've got ourselves some great options. So there you go, everything you ever wanted to know about that weird effect EQ, but we're afraid to ask. I hope that helps some folks out. I had that question twice this week, and I thought, we're covering that on this week's show, because that way I can just point to this. I'll clip that part and make it a video, and then every time I get that question, I'll put it in my little bag of tricks to just throw out at people and let them know. Uh, there you go. So I hope that helps people out. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Good point here from Leela. I'm going to have a drink. I'm a little husky today. I did a show yesterday. I did like an hour and 20 minutes, and it really took it out of my voice. So apologies for all the drinking. I've got a drinking problem. So as Leila says here, you can actually put channel 1 and 2 in dry separate. Yeah, so a lot of mixers will let you do that. If they don't let you do that, you can still kind of hack your way around it by just panning one hard left and one hard right, and then recording just the left channel on one track and the right channel on another track. So when you actually plug in a mixer into, and I don't have a mixer here to show you in real time, but let's just pretend that my audio interface is a mixer. When you actually come in here to set up a new channel and you go into your section here, you'll notice that down the bottom here, you've got channel 1, 2, and stereo. It's the same if you plug a mixer in there. It'll still say, because it's got a stereo input, it'll still say input 1, input 2, and stereo. Now, if you record stereo, it'll record the mix down of your entire mixer. But if you put channel 1 and then you, as Leela said, if you've either got the option to use a dry channel 1, 2, you can do that. Or if you don't and you've got a panning knob, just put your microphone in channel 1, pan it hard left, put your guitar in channel 2, pan it hard right, and then set up 2 individual tracks, one with channel 1, one with channel 2, and then you'll record those 2 separate channels. Depending on the quality of the mixer, I know that there are some where it doesn't quite pan it all the way and you get this little bit of bleed, which is quite frustrating, over into the other channel. But most of them, as long as you can hit that pan knob all the way across one way or the other, it'll push all of that to that channel, and you can indeed record 2 channels. So thank you for confirming that. Hello to Jade Star. I didn't catch it all, but Jade was recording some drums in GarageBand today. So if you are a GarageBand user, you should get yourself over to Jade's channel and check that out. I have the Apogee Quartet and the Scarlett too. Yeah, the Apogee make good stuff. The higher end Apogees, just make sure that you get a version that is class compliant. So that means it runs without drivers and will work with iOS. The easiest way to look for that is the word CC or class compliant, driverless mode, or iOS compatible. If it says any of those things, then you're golden. And the one thing I didn't mention that I probably should have is another cool option. If you don't want to go through all the hassle of having converters and adapters and things, don't forget you've also got the iRig Pro Duo and Pro IO there. Currently unavailable on Amazon. They're that popular, but it's a very cool interface. I use it all the time for my mobile setup, and you've got very similar options there to something like the Steinberg UR22 or a Focusrite Scarlett 2i2, but you've got it all within a mobile device that plugs directly in via Lightning or USB or USB-C. It is very, very cool. Have you used Acid? No, I haven't actually used Acid. I haven't used a lot of different DAWs for a while. I haven't used Acid or Fruity Loops or anything like that for some time. I used to try them all back in the day. Acquire them all almost. I was trying to do my funny bit. Acquire them all legally, you can be sure of that. Like back when I was younger, when I was a young, naive whippersnapper, yes, I would. And there were file sharing platforms that could get these things. I would try them out. Honestly, never found anything that was that good. And eventually, when I was using PC, I started using Reaper because you could use it for free anyway. You didn't have to use any dodgy download sites, and it's 100% free. So if you're on PC, Reaper is still a great option. Cakewalk by BandLab is still a great option as well, and they're both free. Reaper is free, but you do get a nag screen. You can buy it for like $60. It's well worth it if you're on PC and you want a full-featured DAW for your PCing needs. All right. Let's get to our last topic, and we're going to do something super experimental here because you may know that there is a user here, a viewer, a community member by the name of Bear, aka Tremor Bear, and Tremor Bear creates some very cool music in GarageBand. We've played Bear's music on Your Music Live before. Many of you know Bear and know that he creates good stuff. So we're going to do something cool today. Bear has actually shared with me, every time I say Bear, I think of there's a bear in there. Bear has actually shared with me a project. So I thought I would show you and share you the story of how this came about. And then we're actually going to dive in and let you have a bit of a listen. I've got Bear's permission to do this. Let you have a listen to his track and what we're actually going to do with it. Because I'm going to be adding some vocals to Bear's track. So Step one. So Bear reaches out to me and says, hey, I've got these instrumentals and I'd really like you to have a crack at recording vocals. I say, cool, let's give it a crack. So he sends me the project, but I didn't give any instructions or anything prior. And look, this is nothing on Bear, because every single person I've tried this with, including myself when I first did it, makes this same mistake. And that is trying to share the GarageBand.band project file. And that simply doesn't work. So for instance, if I grab this project file here, this one here, and I go share, and I try to share this with someone via Dropbox or Google Drive or whatever, it will not work. It'll put it there, and then I'll go to download it, but then when you go to open it, it'll say, nah, this file doesn't exist. And just to show you what that looks like, if we come in here, the first version that Bear sent through to me, when we came in here, look, I've got a Bear folder now. All right. Looks like this. So there it is, and it hasn't actually downloaded. We'll just need to download it real quick so I can show you what happens. So, but you can see there instantly, that was the first attempt. This is the second attempt. So the first attempt looked like this, and that's what you get. This is the error message you get. You can't open the song. This song is damaged or in a format that GarageBand cannot read. So that is the problem you get, and a lot of folks have the same issue. What is the workaround for this? Well, it's actually really, really simple. All you need to do is, before you share something, we'll come in here, just grab a random track. Before you share goats, you need to zip it up. So you can't actually do it here within GarageBand. You come down here and you're like, oh no, I can't do it. It's not there. What you actually have to do is jump out and go into the Files app, which looks almost exactly the same. So if we shimmy out here and we jump into Files, we can do this. So let's just use this. We'll use the correct version here. So if I wanted to share this back to Bear, which I will be doing once I've added my vocals, all I need to do is, instead of just sharing it straight like this, what I'm going to do first is hit the More button in the bottom right corner. I'm going to hit Compress, and look at that. It's going to zip up this file. So what this does is it grabs all of these incompatible Apple proprietary file formats, it shoves them all into a compressed zip file, and then this zip file is what I can share. So now if I select this one, I can use my share options, and then I can share using iCloud, Google Drive, Dropbox, doesn't matter, Mega, whatever storage platform you want to use. You can't email it because they're usually too big, but you need to upload to some sort of platform, and then you're good to go. So that's sort of first step. So once I sort of explained this to Bear, he sent it through again, worked like a charm. Second time's the charm, and we have this project here ready to rock and roll. So you can see here, I've already had a crack at some vocals. I'll let you take a listen to those in a moment, but listen to the awesomeness that is this track from Tremor Bear. Let's hope that our audio is going to come through, and we'll take a listen to it together. I think you're going to be. I'm going to mute out my vocals, actually. Slide that panel out. We'll mute me vocals and take a listen to this. How good is that? Sounds super cool. So this is something that I got, and I heard this. The first time I heard it, I'm like, yeah, this is awesome. This is cool. This is what I want to play around with. So I don't do a lot of collaborations because it's just a time issue. It's just really challenging to find enough time to do things. But this just captured me because this has got this punk pop vibe. It's got cool sounding guitars. Bear is like, he creates things that are right in the zone. And one thing he did say is like, oh, it's only got like the bass sound there is just a regular keyboard bass. I'm not really super happy with that. And I'm like, nah, dude, this song works. The first thing that I am probably going to say is that, like most of us when we're using GarageBand, it's probably a little bit loud. So we've got a couple of options here. Because there's no automation on these tracks, we can just back them off a little bit, so reduce the volume of the track. We can also use the FX hack. I know I've showed this before, but just so I can show you what this means, if we hit the FX button here, let's just record in random anything. I don't know why I did that. To hit the effects button there again, just delete out that little bit of effects we added. We've now got this effects track. So what we can actually do is come in here, go to our visual EQ, and we've got a volume slider on the right hand side. We can increase and decrease the volume. So we can drop it down a little bit there. But what I want to try first of all is just a little bit of basic static mixing on this. So I'm actually going to go faders down so we can listen to a little bit of this, and then we're going to actually, I'll show you the vocals I've got there, and I'm going to try and work out exactly what the vocals are, and then we'll work around this in the background over time. So let's unsolo each of these, which would be great if you could do this as a multi thing, which you can in other DAWs, but not in GarageBand. All right. And then this is the full version of it, the exporter version. So we'll mute that because we don't want that in here. But we can now go here and do a faders down mix on this. So let's go all of these down. And what I'll probably do is just move, because we've got a couple of different drum tracks and we've got a percussion track here as well. So I'm just going to shimmy these around. So Bear's like, why are you moving my stuff, man? I thought we were friends. So I'll bring all these. So that's all of our percussion. I then like to have my bass straight under all my percussion, and then the guitars under here. And look, we've even got more. We've got Gavin on drum. This is why the drums are sounding so full. Look at this. We've got a couple of drummers, which just works really well. Actually, were they all at 0 volume? Or I've just started leveling them down, haven't I? I hope I'm not going to bring back in stuff that Bear didn't want in there. I keep thinking there's a Bear in there. Hello, Mark, by the way. Hello, Mark Bro, who's here as well. So let's hit play on this one and start bringing up these sounds. So that one's just doing its little drum intro there, which is very, very cool. So we'll leave that one there. And then we've got this sound here, and we've also got Kyle. I kind of like the double drum sound. And then it gets more intense as we come in here. With like some tom drum sounds. I actually really dig this. So we may play around with some of those later, and maybe some can be there and not. There's a little bit of clickiness there because there's sort of like a double hi-hat happening, which is not perfect in all the spots, but still pretty cool. Let's see what we have down here. What's this one doing here? This might be our ride bell that comes in by the looks of it. Maybe? No? Oh, it's not. Volume's not up. Oh, so we've got the 4 on the floor to go along there. Yeah. I like it. All right, what have we got down over here? We've got some percussion, some pots and pans on this one. So what have we got? This is... Oh, turn the volume up, John. Cool. There's a lot of effort that's been gone to pull together this percussion track. So let's come in here where it's all sort of going on and see if we can get this balanced out. Sounds good. Yeah. All right, let's bring our bass in and get our bass sitting in here with our drum sound. I actually don't mind that bass tone. Yeah, I'm a fan of that. All right, guitars. Now, do we have any panning on these guitars? Have we got? Oh, yeah, we've got that one slightly to the right, that one slightly to the left. This one up the guts. So let's listen to our guts guitar that comes in for our tripled guitars in the chorus. So that's our lead guitar tone. We'll then bring in our rhythms. Oh yeah. All right, so the pots and pans just come in a little bit loud there, so we'll just drop those off a little bit. I like them. It creates so much cool stuff. Right? All right, So now I always say mix with your ears, not your eyes, but you can see up the top here that it's a little bit right, a little bit more on the right side. So what we need to do is take a look at these guitars and just sort of balance those out, because they're the only things that are really going to sort of push it left or right. So this one is on the right, and this one's the left side. I'm just going to widen these out a little bit, actually, because I prefer, and Bear can change this afterwards. I'm going to hand this back to Bear if he wants to. If he wants to finish the mix and master, or if he wants me to finish it. Haven't quite discussed that level yet. He's just like, play with this. I'm like, cool. So we'll just play this in, so we can balance out these guitars. Yeah, cool. I like it. The drums might need to just come back up a little bit more. What's doing the mate? Yeah, that one. All right. Very cool. Yeah, I do like it. Who said that the bass is yummy? Yeah, I agree. Hey, Kim H to the 2 to the square. It's very, very cool. But yeah, I like the bass, and I actually don't mind the bass tone. Like, you'd think that with this you need a real, like, acoustic, or like a real sounding bass, and that this bass wouldn't work in with this, but it kind of does. There's something about it that it just all comes together. So what I've done here, like, I haven't done a whole lot in terms of the mix here, but I've just brought the overall volume down a bit. So you can see that when we play it now, let's just come to the loud sort of chorus sections here. You'll see that instead of it before where it was like peaking right at the top here, it's now sitting at around about 60 to 70%, which is about where I like it to be. So you can see there it's just touching the edge of the yellow. It's not giving us too much grief there. So now, what have I come up with in terms of this? This is the nervous part, because Bear just handed this to me and said it's called an illusion, and I'm like, okay. He's like, right, just go for it. Just write what you think and come up with the melody. I'm like, okay, I will. So, without further ado, let's bring in the melody that I have for this sound. This is my do-do-dos and da-da-das. I'm going to re-record them here because I'll show you how we do that in a collaborative track, and then we'll go from there. So take a listen to this one. There's my do-do-dos. That was done very late last night as I was just playing around with it. But it just, yeah, I think that I'm hearing that it's very sort of punk pop, sort of 90s, early 2000s kind of vibe, and that's sort of what I wanted to go with here. And in the chorus section there, I think because it's called an illusion, it needs to be blah da 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 an illusion. So if we play this bit, it's an illusion. Any way you look at it, all that you, yeah, like something like all that you must know is an illusion. All that's it, yeah. All that you believe is an illusion. Oh, that could be. And I want to make this sort of like a jigsaw puzzle type song. I don't want to be about anything. I basically just want it to, and I don't know if this aligns with Bear's message. I think it's in the ballpark, but probably not exactly. But I want this to be like, basically, everything that you see is an illusion, really, at the end of the day. We talk about natural and we talk about things being the right and wrong, but really, is anything real? Did we all just take the red pill or the blue pill or however that goes? Anyway, so because he named it illusion, I think da 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 illusion, like that. Du- du- du. It reminds me of one of the Ron Ward tracks that he opens the show with. Is it the no, it's not. Which one is it? Not the all I can think of when I think Ron Ward is Tuck's T-shirt at the moment, because I just love that tune so much. I think I saw that Tremor Bear. There you go. So we've got the Tremor Bear paw of approval. Which is good, which is what you always worry about when you do something like this. So let's just sort of show you. And then I did bring in a second vocal down here because I think there's a real cool opportunity for in the second chorus to have a harmony vocal. So let's just see what I did here. And because I've mixed it, again, I've just mixed it too. It's so easy to mix it loud again, isn't it? Because now that I've added the vocals, you can see it's tapping right up there at the top, which is a bit of a pain in the butt. All right, let's go. The bass is inspired by a group called the Temper Trap. Nice. I like it. I really like the bass. Like, again, if you listen to the bass, it complements the guitars so well. Like, because do 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 do, it's not afraid to like go up, and I like a bit of more trebly sounds in my bass sometimes. So, very cool. So what we're going to do, I'm going to remove both of these, because what I also want to do is we're going to chop this into sections as well to show you how we can get this all happening. So let's just go to the very start here, and we'll see. Do we have any lead in here? Not a whole lot. So it starts right at the start there. So the first tip I'd give, not to be critical, is to just give yourself 2 bars at the start there. So I'm going to actually start by doing this. I'm going to add in a new section. It's going to be section B because it's going to be afterwards. And I'm just going to put 2 bars in here. So there we go. We'll go back and then we'll edit and we'll drag this section up and put it at the start. All right, done. Now it's added in some additional drummer because it just can't help itself. And we'll come here, we'll go to all song sections, and we'll just delete out those. Actually, we'll leave in one of these drummers because it'll just give us a little bit of lead in so that we can play with this. So we'll delete that, and we'll 2, 3, 4. And what I'll do is I'll just see, because sometimes GarageBand, these still sound cool, like there's no problem with these, but you can see that like it cuts it right at the edge there. We'll just see, have we got some space here? Yep, it looks like, yeah, see, there you go. See how that first guitar started just before there? Well, GarageBand's smart enough that even if you record there, it's actually recording just as it's coming in there. So if we now listen to this, I'll just mute out that drummer track. It'll just it'll hit a little bit better on that first hit. Take a listen. So there you go. So that's tip number 1 with your arranging and your sections, is to do that, to give yourself an extra section there at the start, which we've now done. We'll zoom back out. Oh, I love being back on my touch screen and my zooming in and out. It's so nice. Oh, look, that's totally fine. Like, again, this is what this show is. It's called GarageBand Weekly. It's so that I can help folks that are starting out or that are intermediate users of GarageBand to learn how to do this stuff. Like, you don't know it until you know it, and there's no right or wrong way to do any of this stuff. So that's what we're going with. So let's section this stuff up. Let's chop it. So the start here. 3, 4. So we've got 1, 2, 3. We've got 2 bars there, which is going to be our intro. So 2-bar intro and then into our verse. So again, we'll go to our sections. And this is what I do just so that when I'm recording on top of someone else's work, it makes it easier for me to know this. So we'll go section there, which is going to be our intro. What it'll do, I'm going to go back to all sections. What it will do, it'll add in that drummer track every time we do this, and it does make it a bit annoying. In fact, what it will probably need to do, I might do this offline because, as you can see there, every time we add it, it moves everything around. So if it's not cut right on the edge, it'll move it. So if we delete out the drummer track there, what we'll need to do is grab these two and just carefully reconnect them with their former selves, like so. And the reason I won't do all this now is that it's a little bit finicky to do. It's easy to do, but you don't need to watch me do it 15 times. It's probably not required. So we'll put that there and make sure it hasn't. Yeah, that's cool. So we'll bring Kyle back in there so that he's doing his thing. He doesn't need to play through that part though. Delete there. So what we now need to do is, after the fact, is we need to chop these up. So there's our first two bars. They need to go into that first section. So we need to come in here, and this is where it gets a bit painstaking. And like I said, I'll just do the first one, is that we'll split these off. Or split. And the challenge is sometimes you split, and you split halfway through a note in your virtual instruments, which is never fun. So we'll just split these and split this one. Not that I really need to do that. And then you basically just shimmy all of these over into that first section that we just created there, which is all of this business, all of that for the first two bars. Needs to just move over to be in our first section, like that. And then the rest of it, which again, we need to grab. This is why I'll do all of this offline, is we'll grab everything, absolutely everything, and then we'll just shimmy it over again. So it is easy to use sections from the start, but it's not actually that hard to do this. It'll take me about half an hour, and I'll do it all offline, and then we'll have everything chopped up into sections here, and we'll be able to play with it there. All right, let's just make sure we haven't ruined it. So there's our intro, our two bars. We have ruined it, haven't we? The main reason I ruined it is that because I needed 2 bars, but I actually made it 4 bars. I'm going to leave it there, or I'm going to completely break it. So we'll just make the first 2 bars of the intro will just be Kyle there. We'll fix that afterwards. So if we're recording on top of this, it really is as simple as grabbing your audio interface, plugging in a microphone, and starting to record. And what I'll do is, instead of using the sections there, I'm going to re-record my parts here, and I'm going to chunk it in. I'll chunk it down after we record it so we can do each section one at a time. So let's hit the plus button here. Hit audio recorder, and I normally use the lead vocals these days, and throw a bit of extra compression on there, a little bit of vocal hold, a little bit of drive, turn my monitor on, and hello, ba-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da, check, 1, 2. So a little bit low there. I'm going to turn up my gain. I'm going to sneeze. Charming. And check, 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 check. So I'm just turning up the input gain on my audio interface. What I'm going to do is, so that I can see the track here while I record, I'm going to use a dummy track. So I do this pretty much every time. We create a second track here. We go into our options. We make sure that it's not monitored and that it's on channel 2. And this way, we can record on the second blank channel at the same time as the first channel. Just have the record lights on, come back to here, chuck, 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 and now we can actually see what we're going along with as we record. So what we'll do is we'll hit the record button, and I'll sing in the first verse, and then we'll pause, and then we'll go to the next one. Da 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 So this is the section where what I will call the chorus. at this point, because I think that's kind of all encapsulates kind of the first verse. So this is going to be our first chorus that we're going to do. And what you can do is you go along here in GarageBand, we can rename each of these audio clips. This is why I'm doing this clip by clip, because we can rename this because you don't have proper, naming of sections. We can just call this verse 1. And there you go. It renames the audio track as verse 1. So let's hit the record button on here and record our chorus. It's an illusion. It's just an illusion. It does it twice. I forgot that it did it twice. Let's try that again. It's an illusion. It's just an illusion. It's just an illusion. Then we go back into the second verse, different than the first, except that we'll probably do it quite similarly. All right, so there's our point where our first verse ends, and we'll just record in. Alright, so that becomes our verse number 2. We'll just turn the monitoring off so you don't hear me twice. So we can come in here and rename. So this will be verse 2. And I like this song. I like the simple structure of this song. It's kind of got a slight extension there. You kind of expect it to go to the chorus sort of one phrase before it does, and I actually dig that. So this one is going to be our chorus. Thank you again to Tremor Bear, by the way. It's super brave and super cool of Bear to allow us to do this live on the show, because it's your personal work. It's your heart and soul, mate. So I appreciate it. All right, let's. All right, that's the bar 71 is where we jump into the next section. So we'll make sure we're right on the bar marker there. And this will be like our big final chorus. We don't have our monitoring on. There we go. It's an illusion. Just an illusion. Just an illusion. Just an illusion. Whoa. 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 And then I think I even say in my first recording of this at the end here, I'm like, oh yeah, this just needs to be a solo. Let's just listen to the first bit. I like. Just let it sit with a little guitar solo. I was like, yeah, just let it sit with a little guitar solo, which is, I think, what I need to do. So I think that last chorus, it just goes da-da-da, like it just does a little bit of whoa, whoa, whoas over the end there. I did it really poorly there, as you can probably tell, because I'm losing my voice. Whoa, whoa, whoa. But can you hear that? Whoa, 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 whoa. And then the end of it, I love the end of this song. It just stops, but in a cool way. Listen to this. The GarageBand ending. you could almost put like a record. Could almost use the FX to do that stop effect at the end there on the whole thing. In fact, well, don't do that. Let's just try that. I really like the ending of this because it's just so abrupt. But I reckon. Let's just try that with effects. Maybe we do the slow one. Yeah, let's try the slow one. All right, this is fun. No, I think the fast one needs to be there. I don't think that worked. Plus, we weren't recording in the effects, were we? All right, let's try it again. Oh, you know why we're not recording the effects? Because we've got our record channel on there. There we go. That's better. All right, let's try this one. We use the fast stop because I think it just needs to all stop. Does it need to stop a little earlier? What do you reckon? And I'm holding the stop button down there so it stays stopped. Let's just listen to what that sounds like at the end here. It didn't do it. It didn't even work. Hang on, delete. Why did that not work? I haven't used effects in a long time. Am I still recording something somewhere? No, it should just be recording effects. All right, let's try. Like that, maybe? No, that's still slightly too early. Look, I know. I'm just having fun with this now, and we will go and record just some quick backing vocals, and then we'll finish off for this one. And what we might do is go off offline and record this a bit more. Maybe that. And we have to bring it back off. That's why it didn't record in that first time. Okay. Yeah? Come on. That's pretty cool. I've never found a useful use of the effects. Now we have useful use. All right, let's so what I'm thinking here, I don't think that there needs to be a whole lot in the way of harmony, except this second chorus. Was it second chorus? Yeah, second chorus definitely needs a harmony on top. So let's check 1, 2. Let's get this ready to rock and roll, and we'll record in a little harmony part here for this one. Wait a minute. Undo. We need to cue up our dummy. Hey, dummy. Oh, poor dummy. All right, let's go. It's an illusion. Just an illusion. Just an illusion. Just an illusion. Whoa. Yes. All the yes. Oh man, what do I say about music? You gotta have fun when you're making music. Chorus is an earworm. Cool. Yeah. I think it's just I think it's I think it's going to be the hook, because I loved the sound of the chorus that Bear had in here. It's an illusion. I think it just complements the guitar, like the jing 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 jing. I think it works well. So we need to write some lyrics for this, obviously. And don't forget, I've got my own song that I'm working on in Logic that I've got 7 days left to finish. So nothing like biting off a little bit more than you can chew. So I can't guarantee that this will all be workshopped, but it might be something that we do. In fact, it probably will end up be something that we do over the next couple of weeks. So maybe this becomes our little sort of GarageBand Weekly feature that we do each week, because we're going to have a lot of work to do with this. But let's listen to it from start to finish, just so that you can get a feel for it. We'll do a little bit of a static mix here. In fact, I'm going to use my FX to just turn it down a wee bit as well, because I have mixed it too loud, as we all always do. Whoops, I'm in the wrong one. Come in here. Don't forget, you can use your FX hack here to just drop it 5 dB there, so we're not going to be too high up. High on the hill was a lonely goat herd. All right, let's play this, shall we? This is the intro bit. Ooh, don't really. Da 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 It's an illusion. Just an illusion. Just an illusion. It's an illusion. Just an illusion. Just an illusion. Just an illusion. Whoa. You can hear the Blink 182 kind of vocals in there. It gets me every time. I just dig it. I've got one more vocal idea that I'm going to lay in here, because while the mossiness is on there, I just wanted to try this. All right. This may or may not work, but I just wanted to try it as a bit of a backing idea here. Just. It's an illusion. Just an illusion. Just an illusion. Just an illusion. just thought that maybe to go along, there just needs to be that little backing track that accompanies the guitar solo through to the end. But I'm not sure. Let's just throw down the ideas at this point. We'll see what sticks. It makes me laugh every time. All right, like it? Like it? Cool. Yeah. Oh, hang on. We'll turn those off. Yeah. Bum, 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 bum. Yeah, I just heard it. I heard it in my head last night when I was playing with it. I'm like, that ending is so cool. It's so abrupt and it's so awesome. It just needed a sprinkling of something, and I think that that stop effect works really well. I will let the force guide me indeed. And Thomas has got a good point here. Maybe this is the March project. What do you reckon? Let me know if you'd like to see this throughout March as my March song. Is that cheating? Because I didn't write this song. If I did, because I said I'm gonna record a new song every month of 2022. Is this the song? I think the universe is just pointing it towards me. So maybe this becomes the song that I do, and then it can be a whole month about how to take someone else's work and then how to collaborate and bring it together. If you'd like to see that, do let me know down in the comments below, because this has been a longer and a bit of a weird kind of version of this show. We started late, and we went off on weird tangents for a long time. So I hope you dug it. I hope you enjoyed it. If you're watching on the replay, there will be timestamps down below so you can catch up on all of this. The last section that we usually go through is the resource of the week. And this week, because we've been focusing on GarageBand iOS, what I'm going to do is point you towards my GarageBand iOS FAQ. That's a lot of words and a lot of letters there. But if you go over to studiolivetoday.com/GarageBand, you can check out my $10 course to get kickstarted in GarageBand for you. Or you've got all of these free resources. You've got all of my different playlists of GarageBand training and essential information that you can check out there. And then, look at this, you've got all the FAQs. If you're wondering about things, if you're saying, hey, Johns was playing around with a compressor during that, what the heck was he doing there? Well, come down here to compression. It tells you what compression is and how to use it here in GarageBand. But then if you want some more, well, what about, how do I compress my vocals in GarageBand? Well, look, there's a video for that. There you go. My full how to compress vocals video, 9 minutes with all the different settings and all of the different timestamps there to help you find what you need. It is a one-stop shop of GarageBand goodness. GarageBand, studiolivetoday.com/GarageBand. Thank you all for being here today. Thank you all for your patience at the start. I apologize that we got the start wrong. There was a whole lot of juggling and balls in the air and things going on that you don't need to know about. But do thank you for being here. Please, as we say at the end of every show, be kind to yourselves, be kind to others, keep creating, and I'll see you on the next one here on GarageBand Weekly. Bye for now.